Now this is the cooking oil problem you discussed yesterday. We already understood that it will either fall into a Z test or a T test. When will you go for Z test? When the standard deviation of the population is known to you. If the standard deviation of the population is known to you, you are someone like Vikara, the vice president of the company. You are given access. Population standard deviation is 2.6. Now I will go for Z test. If population standard deviation is not revealed to me, I will go for one sample T test. When I want to test the inequality, my study is two-tailed. When I want to test whether the lead content or the fat content is more than 15%, my study is right-tailed. Problem is only on the right side. When my study is less than, for example, we are going to conduct a green belt examination. You know what test we are doing? We are doing a left-tailed study. We will not give you the certificate only when you score less than 50. Am I right? So problem is only on the left side. Criticality is studied only on the left side. Right side, you score any mark, 50 to 100, no issues. Even if you score 100, you will be given the certificate. But left side, if you go below 50, you will not be issued the certificate, right? So that is the left-tailed test. All of you now understood. For doing the Z test or T test, your data will be continuous or discrete? Continuous.
Continuous.
Statistics used is average. Suppose your data is not continuous. Your data is discrete. You can't use Z test. You can't use T test. One more thing I wanted to say here. When you are studying two samples, for example, I have Maggi one side. What is another noodles product? Can you give me an example?
Hippie.
Hippie. One is Maggi this side, other one is Hippie noodles this side. I wanted to know which one is too good for the health, maybe based on lead content. Now there is no question of the thing. I am not comparing a sample against a population. Now I am comparing a sample against another sample. Hippie is compared or studied against Maggi, or Maggi is studied against Hippie. Now, what is this study called? And study is once again on the lead content. What is this study called?
Proportion test.
Come on. Two sample test. Two sample T test. We are studying only sample, no question of population. So population standard deviation is not known. That is called two sample T test. Can you tell me one more Maggi product, one more noodles product? One is Maggi, another one is Hippie, and then
Top ramen.
Top ramen. Now there is Maggi, there is Hippie, there is Top ramen. Now there are three samples. Which is better in terms of lead content? This question leads to another hypothesis testing called ANOVA. When the sample is compared against population, it is either Z test or T test. When one sample is compared against another sample, it is two sample T test. When there are more than two samples, 3, 4, 5 or 100, that is called ANOVA. Now how many people are attending the meeting? 100 students, 134 students. I want to find out the best student out of the 134 based on the test mark. I want to find out the best student out of the 134. The study is called ANOVA. 134 people. Everyone is asked to write a test 3 times. Everyone is asked to write a test 3 times. And the average mark is considered. And finally, one person is considered the topper of the entire program. I will be giving 3 tests. And average of the 3 test mark is considered. And finally, one student is found to be the best of the best. What is the study called? ANOVA. You all understand how when the situation leads to ANOVA? Let us say I have a 3 supplier supplying me products. Into my company, 3 suppliers are supplying the product. My management wants me to select only one supplier for procuring the raw material. The raw material quality is important to me. Let us say I am procuring aluminum. In aluminum, the hardness is very important for me. Now tell me what kind of hypothesis testing you will do to choose between supplier A, B and C.
ANOVA.
ANOVA. There are 3 suppliers. If there are 10 suppliers, then also I will do ANOVA. Why ANOVA? More than 2 groups. Why ANOVA? Data is continuous. Why data is continuous? Hardness is a measurable characteristics. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And sample, always I take multiple sample. When I take multiple sample, I must calculate average. So that leads to ANOVA. When there are only 2 suppliers, what is it called?
2 sample test.
2 sample t-test.
2 sample t-test.
Very good.
2 sample t-test.
Fantastic. Now let us
Comparing, sir, question, sir.
Yes, please.
சார் நீங்க சொன்னீங்க இப்ப ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்குள்ள கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது நாங்க அனோவா டெஸ்ட் எடுத்து போடணும். ஆனா கண்டினியூஸ் தானே சார், எல்லாருமே ஒரே ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் தானே. அப்பனா நீங்க வந்து ஜெட் டெஸ்ட் எடுத்துட்டு போயிடலாமே.
என்ன டெஸ்ட் எடுக்கலாம்ன்றீங்க?
ஜெட் டெஸ்ட், டி டெஸ்ட் இது எடுத்துட்டு போயிடலாமே. ஏன்னா ஜெட் டெஸ்ட் எடுத்து சாம்பிள்.
Right. I will tell you. See, நான் வந்து I want to understand about 134 student. I want to find out who is best among the 134. Who is best among the 134 is ANOVA. If I take a sample of students or otherwise, no, 134 is considered a sample. 134 is considered a sample. By using U134 as the sample, when I want to predict about all the students in Wales University, that will become one sample t-test. All of you are considered just one sample. Because finally I will take your average. That average is 95. Oh, how come? Yeah, one class average is 95. That means that university should be great. That's all. That is one sample t-test. But now I am comparing within you. Now, what is population? Population itself is, all of you. The MBA department is the population. And in that, 134 students. Each student is now considered one group. 134 groups are there. Now it is ANOVA. Right. And now, if my data is not continuous, if it is discrete, I will go for proportion. Because if data is discrete, I can't calculate average. For example, how many students are male and how many students are female? Can you tell me what is the proportion of male students in your MBA department? 80% or 50%? Is it 50-50 or 60-60?
80%.
80% boys, 20% girls. Am I right? Now 80%. Is that 80% is average or proportion?
Proportions.
When I meet 100 students of Wales University MBA, 80 of them are expected to be boys. 20 of them are expected to be girls. 80 by 100. A numerator divided by denominator is a proportion. 20 by 100 is another proportion, right? And now I want to know whether male students are preferring Wales University or female candidates are preferring Wales University. This is hypothesis testing. And when I take a sample of 10, 8 students are found to be boys. I take a sample of 20, around 15 are found to be boys. I take another sample of 30, again around 25 are found to be boys. All the samples are telling me that the boys proportion is around 10%, girls proportion is 20%. So what is this telling me? More boys or the male are preferring Wales University than the female, isn't it? I don't know the reason, but this is the fact. What is this statement? Male candidates prefer more than the female candidates while joining the university. This is an alternate statement. This has become evident with some study. Every time I take a sample, calculate the proportion, the boys' proportion is significantly higher than girls' proportion. Whether boys are performing well, girls are performing well. Boys are performing well, girls are performing well. How do I know? How many boys are getting placed? How many girls are getting placed? Now, what is this data? Number of boys getting placed every semester and number of girls getting placed every semester. What is this? Out of 100 boys, 10 boys are getting placed in a job. In the
Alternate.
Similarly, out of 100 girls, 20 girls are getting placed. Out of 100, 10 boys are getting placement. For the same out of 100, 20 girls are getting placement. And now this is giving me a clue that girls are grabbing more job opportunities than the boys. But again, 10 out of 20, 20 out of 20, no, 20 out of 100 is a proportion. Whenever you count 20 girls got the placement means I count them. I count their heads. 20 girls, 10 boys. I am counting the head. Countable data or discrete data. Suppose I am in a different situation. How is the academic performance? Whether the boys are doing well or girls are doing well. I conduct a test. Boys are writing the exam. Girls are also writing the exam. Now test mark becomes my characteristics of interest. Test mark is not a countable data. Test mark is a measurable data. The average mark scored by boys is 80. The average mark scored by girls is 60. Because so many boys are writing the exam. I have to now take average. Am I right? Can I take the average now? Average is possible or not?
Your average is possible.
Whenever average is possible, your data is continuous. Whenever average is not possible, your data is proportion. When I want to compare boys and girls based on the test mark, what is this hypothesis testing?
Proportional test.
No, you have to think properly and answer this question.
Alternate.
No, what is this? What is the name of the hypothesis testing? One side is boys, other side is girls.
ANOVA.
No, only two groups are there.
Two-tail t-test.
Sir, proportion.
Tailed
Two
test.
sample t-test.
Two sample t-test. That's all. Every single minute in our life, we speak hypothesis testing. Only thing is we do not know that we are practicing all those things. We never accept a statement which is, which is not having an evidence. Am I right? We always ask for the evidence. That means what we are doing is hypothesis testing. And now, two proportion test, you understood, right? Now, going to the next case. See here, like R.K. sir was explaining, like a campaign was conducted, a digital campaign. I write email about my product. Generally, 6.5% of my emails get me some result. When I write 1,000 email, 65 emails gives me sales. But recently, I have modified my campaign. After modification, my campaign has given me 88.7% result. So far, what is that belief in my company? My company marketing team can give me only 6.5% result. But right now, last campaign, maybe some changes we have done, that has given me, an improvement in the result. Is this improvement really because of the change? Now, this leads to hypothesis testing. The response rate, when I say response rate is equal to 6.5%, that is null hypothesis, the same old performance. But response rate more than, sorry, not 15%, I should write here 6.5. Response rate more than 6.5 means it is right tail. Less than 6.5 means left tail. Not equal to 6.5 means two tail. Now tell me, response rate, is it an average or a proportion?
Average.
Is it so?
Average.
What do you mean by 6.5%? I write email to 1,000 people, 65 people buy the product. Is this 65 is an average?
No,
65
no.
out of 1,000. 65 out of, how did you know it is 65? You have counted. Second sale, third sale, it is no counted. So percentage, you have to be very careful. You may easily get confused. It is proportion. So since you have compared the sample and verified an information, or a standard, that is called one proportion test. Only one sample you have taken. One campaign is tested and compared against the company standard. That is one proportion test. All of you understand? Number of questions correctly answered, number of questions wrongly answered. Number of questions correctly answered. Is it an average or a proportion?
Proportion, sir.
Proportion.
Proportion,
I
sir.
give 100 questions. I give Yeah, when I say just no, and I'm only counting, that is always proportion. All right, two vendors are serving a company. The vendor's performance is measured based on the transaction time. Transaction time of A, transaction time of B. I want to know who is giving the service, consuming lesser transaction time. Transaction time is continuous. Transaction time is continuous data. I take sample of transactions of A, sample of transactions of B, calculate the average, compare the average. The study is two sample t-test. It can be two-tailed, it can be left-tailed, it can be right-tailed. I will always believe the alternate when my p-value goes below 5%. Male and female, a supermarket or a shopping mall. So many male people are going, so many female are going. Who is actually making more purchase? The company want to know. How do you, this is a study. You can do a study and pass on the valid information to the company. Sir, ladies are making more purchase during New Year. Gents are not like that. They don't spend. But girls, they buy more. So give more offers to the girls because they are giving business. So these kind of strategic decisions, marketing decisions, you can advise. You as MBA, probably you have to guide the company to move, to follow the right strategy. And you need to do some study. Some survey has been conducted. Let us say 1,000 male customers were observed, 1,000 female customers were observed. After the study, out of the 1,000, how many actually purchased after visiting the mall? Some people will go inside the mall and come out with empty hands, not buying anything. So number of people who make a purchase every time they visit the mall for male and female has been studied. If you say that the buying pattern will be same with the male and female, that statement is called what? Null hypothesis. What should be the symbol given? It should be denoted by H0. If you say male is buying more or female is buying more, then your statement is alternate. Proportion of A is not equal to B. Proportion of A is more than B, or proportion of A is less than B. I mean male and female. It can be two-tailed, it can be right-tailed, it can be left-tailed. Do you think this is a two-tailed test? Since because I have written, this is a test for your observation, listening. First day I checked your listening. A, B, C and clap, and all of you clapped. And now I want to test your listening. Is it two sample t-test because I have written it here?
Yes, sir.
How many of you say it is two sample t-test?
Sir, it's a two sample t-test
Yes, sir. Two sample t-test.
because two parties are there.
I'm not happy with the way. I'm not happy with the way all of you are listening to me. You are still cheating yourself. Tell me, what is the statistics you are using here? Are you using average? Are you using proportion?
Proportion.
Proportion we are using.
If you use average, then only it can be two sample t-test.
Alternate.
We have used proportion of male buying, proportion of female buying. So the test should be called two proportion test. My mistake, made you confused. You should never be confused, right? Whoever is talking on the other side, you should never be confused. What is this test actually? Two
Proportion.
because you are using proportion to take the decision. Isn't it? I want to launch a product. I want to launch a new ice cream. I want to know whether, how many people will love my ice cream. A new taste, a mango and strawberry mixed flavor. I want to know how many people will like mixing mango and strawberry. Do you like mixing mango and strawberry? Have you ever tested? No. But I want to launch a new product, a new ice cream, which has the combination of mango and strawberry. What should I do? I'll probably make a sample of 134 ice cream and give it to all of you. All of you will eat it happily. And after that, you will tell me, sir, ice cream is good. And some of you will tell me ice cream is bad. What is your data? Is it continuous data or discrete data? You are saying good or bad?
Discrete.
Good or bad is discrete. So how many people said good? Out of 134, 80 people said good. Out of 134, no, another 54 people said bad. So 80 out of 134, 54 out of 134. What is this?
Proportion.
Proportion. And majority of the people are liking the taste. I will go ahead and launch the product. What is the test I have done? 2 proportion test.
2 proportion t-test.
Clear? Yes. Similarly, instead of 2 groups, when I have more than 2 groups, for example, I have company in four regions: North Zone, South Zone, East Zone, West Zone. I've got 4 offices, and I am heading the all the entire country. And you are the CEO. Now you want to know which particular office is performing properly, or is there any office performing significantly better than the other office, so that you can give promotion to one of the office. Now you can measure the performance in several ways. I want you to measure the performance of the company or office based on the number of mistakes they have committed during the last 1 year. The number of errors they have committed in the last 1 year. The company is a data entry company. Every time you fill up a questionnaire, if you wrongly enter, the questionnaire is considered a defective questionnaire. So every questionnaire going wrong is will spoil the name of the company with the customer, isn't it? And in a year, first company, the company in North, in the last year, they made about 500 error or 500 defective mistakes. And South has made 520, and East has made 540, and West has made 550. This is 500, this is 530, this is 540, this is 550. Can I now conclude the West company is worst because it is 550? Can I say North Zone is the best? Should I give the increment? 500 and let me say very small difference. 500 mistakes, 505 mistake, 510 mistake, 515 mistake. Can I now say North office is the best one? I will give increment to North and don't give any increment to South and East. Rather terminate everybody in the West. Do you think I am working like a CEO?
No, sir.
No.
We want to test, sir.
No, you have tested. You have studied the data. 500 mistakes were done by North office. 505 were done by South office. 510 mistakes were done by East office. 515 mistakes were done by West office. And you are taking a decision like this. North office is great because mistakes are less. Everybody gets increment. And seeing the data, the worst of the worst is West. 515 mistakes. Everybody is depromoted. Do you think my decisions are correct? Definitely wrong. You know why? You are not happy with the numbers. 500, 505, 510, 515. There is no much of a difference. This difference can be your error. The error bar concept has been beautifully taught yesterday evening. Many of you have missed it. Error is always plus or minus 2 times standard deviation of your data. Error is always plus or minus 2 times the error in the data. Error is standard deviation. Sometimes error can be standard error of mean. When you are working with individual data, error is equal to standard deviation. When you are working with average, error is equal to standard error of mean. Standard error of mean and standard deviation has a relation. Standard error of mean is equal to standard deviation divided by square root of n. Once you know the error, you know your confidence interval. You know what is confidence interval? What you observed is 500. It doesn't mean that only 500 only will happen. 500 plus or minus will happen. Am I right? Since because you scored 80 mark in the exam, it doesn't mean every time you will score 80. You will score 80 plus or minus some mark. That plus or minus can be understood by knowing the standard error. 2 times standard error when I add and 2 times standard error when I subtract from the mean, I will get the confidence limits. To be frank, if you are expecting for the 95% confidence limit, instead of 2, I must use 1.96. All these fancy numbers are coming from the knowledge of normal distribution. When you go to 1.96 for a 2-tiled study, the region beyond 1.96 on the right and left will be equal to 5%. So the region inside the 1.96 will be equal to 95%. If it is a 1-tiled test, the region above 1.645 will be equal to the 5%, and region below will be equal to 95%. All that I want is 95% confidence interval or confidence limits. Right. Okay. So that is one thing. So here, since the difference is very small, now you have to keep quiet. Don't differentiate people. When the difference is small, rather give everyone one more chance. If you give increment to north office, don't give increment to south, east and west. While motivating the north people, you are demotivating peoples of 3 regions. Am I right? That mistake not do. If you really wanted to take decision as a leader, your decision should never be wrong. The chance that your decision can go wrong should be very, very low. That is what we are checking in p-value. If the p-value is less than 5%, what is the chance for your decision to go wrong? Less than 5%. 95% is your confidence level. Do you now understand how powerful the tool p-value is? You might think it's a simple mathematical formula. What is there? But it is driving the company. It is driving the decision. And when you use proportion to compare more than 2 groups, that is called what? The study is called what? What is written here?
Chi-square.
Yes. Chi-square test.
Chi-square.
I hope you have studied all these things. If you are a graduate, if you are an engineer, if you are an MBA, obviously in mathematics, somewhere these kind of statistical modules will be there, and you must use them. And ANOVA you already mastered it, right? Supplier A, supplier B, supplier C, more than 2, and you are different. You are trying to differentiate the supplier based on the transaction time. Transaction time means continuous data. So you will take average transaction time of A, B, and C, and A is found to be the best service provider. So contract is renewed with the supplier A, and contract is cancelled with supplier B and C. Your decision is perfectly all right because you have taken the decision with the lower p-value. All of you are comfortable so far?
Yes, sir.
How many of you understood all that I have explained so far? We could have done that yesterday itself, but I'm sure you could have missed everything when we did this yesterday. Once you understand the importance of the concept, how tough it is, then you will realize how important it is to listen to some good training sessions. Trainings makes you really skillful, right? But you need to recognize that. You should have first of all the mindset to understand, yes, you are going through a program which is going to make a difference in your career. All right. So now coming to the error, RK sir was saying about alpha. Alpha means level of significance. Level of significance is nothing but type 1 error or manufacturer risk. What is manufacturer risk? Manufacturer risk means, imagine, let me explain with the context of manufacturing industry. Let us say I produce a product. You are coming and testing. You test the product and reject the product. But my product is actually good. My product is good, but what you did, you rejected it. Why you rejected, I don't know. You measured wrongly, you did something wrong, your sampling is wrong, your measurement is wrong. Can it happen? Product is good, you still as a quality engineer, you still reject the product. Possible or not?
Possible.
That is called type 1 error. That is called manufacturer risk. Why? Because product is good, but you are rejecting. Now who is losing the money? Manufacturer is losing the money. So that type of error is called manufacturer risk. Generally, companies can tolerate a risk of 5%, not more than that. How much they can tolerate?
8%.
That is the practice. That is the industry standard. If they tolerate 5%, what is the balance? You have to do the inspection correctly. You should not reject a good product at least 95% of the time. Am I right? 5% of the time, okay, you reject. I can understand you are a human being. I can understand you will have limitation. 5% of the time, you reject my good product. But 95% of the time, you must accept my good product. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So the balance of 5%, which is 95%, is called confidence level. Confidence level means you accept the right product correctly. You reject the good product, that is manufacturer risk. In the world of hypothesis testing, we call this as type 1 error. Manufacturer risk is called as type 1 error. Risk means permissible. Error means actually committed. Risk means permissible. Okay, this much risk is permissible. But actually committed is called what? Error. So when I say manufacturer risk or alpha, it is also called as level of significance. When I say level of significance is 5%, you can commit a type 1 error of 5%. When you commit more than 5% error, what will happen to your confidence level? Confidence level will come below 95%. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So there is a relationship between alpha and confidence level. When type 1 error is alpha, confidence level is 1 minus alpha. It all depends on the criticality of the study you are doing. If the study what you are doing is critical, then confidence level needs to be higher. For example, it comes to the vaccination. When I take the vaccination, what is the guarantee that people will not die when they take the vaccination? What level of confidence you want? Are you okay with 10% confidence, or do you want a higher level of confidence?
Higher level of confidence.
We need a higher level of confidence. Then what could be the tolerance level for you? If you are the country's prime minister, you have to take an important decision. Which vaccination should be given to your people? There are 160 crore people. What could be your tolerable limit? What could be your level of significance? Can you give 5%? Are you okay with making you 5% of your population die?
No, sir.
No. 5% level of significance. This risk also you can't allow. Maybe, are you okay with 1%?
No, sir.
Then are you okay with 0.1%? Because 100% is impossible. Take it granted. 100% is impossible. The curve will never axis. 0.1 is okay?
Less than 0.05.
Oh, less than 0.05. Then your confidence level is 100 minus 0.05. How much it is?
99.95.
So the confidence level required is 99.95. That is the reason why they go for lot of study before launching the vaccines. Millions of doses were studied. Am I right? They study, first with animal, then with the human beings. Several thousand, several lakh people will be studied, and then a decision will be taken to implement the vaccination in the country. When you are looking at higher confidence level, your studies should be stringent with the higher sample size. There is a relationship between the sample size, confidence level, kind of statistics you want to validate. I have written here. Sample size matters. Confidence level matters. And there is another one called power of test. You know what is power of test? Correctly rejecting a bad product. I give you 100 product. I am your supplier. I mix 10 products bad every time. So in 100 products, how many bad products are there? 10 bad products are there. Now your quality engineers are checking and incoming raw material and accepting it. If your quality engineers correctly detect the 10 bad product and correctly reject them, that is called the power of test. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Coming, product is bad. You are still accepting it. And now your consumer will be under risk. Am I right? You have accepted a bad raw material and that is going to reach your customer. Now customers are under risk. Always any study will have certain limitation. Why it is? Because we are doing sampling only. I can't study everything, isn't it? If I want to understand how the products of Wales University are, I cannot study all the thousands and millions of students produced by Wales University. At the maximum, I can only study a sample. So my study will always have limitation. It will have two types of limitation. One is type 1 error, another one is type 2 error. The balance of type 1 error is called confidence level. The balance of type 2 error is called power of test. You should be able to play with all these things properly, depending on the situation, depending on the requirement, and that is called decision making. So the decision making is an odd sample size, confidence level, power of test, and the statistics to be validated. Are you working with average? Are you working with the proportion? Are you working with standard deviation? Are you working with variance? Are you working with the range? What it is? Accordingly, the names are given. Right? I have a name, RK has got a name, your professor has got a name, because names are required to differentiate people. Same way, every test is given a name so that you can choose whichever is required. Is that clear to all of you? All the four things? Yeah.
Sir.
Can I get a yes?
Yes.
Right. Now, connecting the learning with the hypothesis testing. Rejecting a good product, accepting a bad product, and that and all very easily understood. Now, coming to hypothesis testing again, slightly I'm going to confuse you. Now, imagine the reality about H naught. What is H naught?
Null.
Null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is true. You did a study and you rejected it. What is the error you are committing? Type 1 error. Null hypothesis is true.
Manufacturer.
Yes. Null hypothesis is true. You have rejected it. This is type 1 error. This type 1 error is measured in terms of p-value. P-value is an estimate of type 1 error. What is your research requirement? Research findings should come with a 95% confidence level. If you expect your research findings, your project findings to come with 95% confidence level, then this type 1 error should be less than 5%. Am I correct? If the type 1 error should be less than 5%, your p-value should be less than 5%. If p-value is not less than 5%, we advised you not to reject the null. Am I right? Or otherwise, we advised you to reject the null only when the p-value is less than 5%. How many of you get the point? In hypothesis testing, you must reject the null only when your p-value is less than 5%. What does it mean? It means your confidence level is minimum 95%. Clear?
Sir, yes, sir.
The more deeper we go, the more clearer we should be. The opposite can also happen. The more we deeper go, the more we get confused. You have to be clever enough to become really clever. All right. So look for a p-value of less than 5%. Only under such situation, you must differ from the average people. Clear? You differ from the average people, you differ from everyone's opinion only when your p-value is less than 5%. Otherwise, keep quiet. Take action, make changes based on the data only when p-value is less than 5%. If you react too much with the higher p-value, people may start laughing at your decisions. You should not do that, right? You should work as a leader. So always look for p-value less than 5%. Hope the fundamentals are understood clearly. Now tell me,
Yes, sir.
like India,